고요. 장 선수를 상대로 놀라운 경기력을 선보이며 조 1위를 기록했습니다. 8강과 4강에서는 더욱더 기량이 발전된 모습을 보여준 박성균 선수인데요. 8강 불패의 김명훈 선수를 꺾고 4강에서는 괴수 도재욱 선수를 만나 24강에서의 복수에 성공하며 AS 첫 결승 진출에 성공했습니다. 자, 이에 맞서는 정영재 선수의 경우 24강에서 송병구 선수에게 첫 경기부터 패배하는 위기가 있었지만 이혜훈 선수를 잡아내고 송병구 선수에게 복수하며 조 2위로 16강에 올랐고요. 16강에서는 저그 2연속 우승자 김명훈 선수와 직전 시즌 준우승자 유영진 선수를 연달아 꺾으며 8강에 올랐습니다. 8강과 4강에서 대망의
4강입니다.
Going to style, I think that's a very good point. Into his.
What is up, everybody? Welcome. We're finally here in the ASL Season 15 Finals, and what an insane story this has been so far. I don't know how it's going to end, but I can tell you it's been one of the funnest ASL seasons we've ever had.
It's been ridiculously awesome throughout. This has been probably the most upsets that we've ever seen. All of the favorites have been eliminated, and now we're down to just 2 Terran players who played completely out of their minds. Very unexpected.
Yeah, and no matter who wins here, it's going to be a real moment in history. If Mind can actually take this finals, he will have come back from almost over 15 years of not being on top of the world. Even after StarCraft Remastered was released, he was good, but he was never good enough to be in the Final 4 or Final 8, and oftentimes not even the Final 16 of an ASL. Many seasons he wasn't here at all. JYJ was always looking good, but he was very often overshadowed by the other Terrans, by Flash, by Light, by Rush, by Royal.
Well, overshadowed no more. I really love seeing JYJ come into his own and to have Mind back on top of the world. Very excited to see how this matchup is going to play out, because I think JYJ being like super modern, that's a very cool thing about his play style. It is a little bit different from everyone else's. And then you have Mind, who really kind of shuns a lot of the modernity. He is more about just making great decisions.
Yeah, very smart decisions in the early game as we go into the mid game, where he just ends up in a better position. JYJ, we talked about the fact that, you know, he was going to get here. Well, I should say, if he was going to get to the finals, it would be off the backs of dead Zergs, and he certainly did that. He was tearing up Zerg after Zerg after Zerg, but now it's going to come down to the mere matchup Terran versus Terran.
Yeah, and I think that we are going to see like a clash of styles here. This should be really, really interesting. JYJ, I think he's going to be playing sharper builds. I think he's going to be optimizing a lot. And I think Mind is going to try to just play very intelligently. And by that I mean no poor attacks, solid defense, and punishing whenever JYJ missteps.
It's been wild to see Mind's rise here. He doesn't look like any other Terran, really. He has seemed to really have done a deep dive in studying all the Terran matchups in the early game and looked at the different approaches that other players have, but he's got his own way of kind of getting into a fairly comfortable spot that as we go from mid-game towards late game, he basically makes it easy. Now, JYJ has been hanging with the very best Terrans in the last several seasons of ASL. We've been pretty comfortable seeing him around. He's always looked good, but now is his opportunity to actually take the whole show. And remember, for both of these Terrans, it's so important they take this, because pretty soon, Flash is going to be back, and who knows if any Terran's going to win an ASL after he returns.
Yeah, that's a very good point. But I want to believe in my mind, if someone could, it would be Mind. You know, he certainly was vying for that Terran dominance so many years ago. You can see him here, pretty focused, yet he looks pretty relaxed too, right? Like, I don't see much nervousness there.
Well, he's definitely been down this road before. I mean, when you're somebody like Mind and you have been an actual Star League champion in the past, and you were on top of the world at the height of StarCraft in the older era. I don't want to take anything away from the modern era. In some ways, StarCraft is more accessible and more popular, especially when it comes to streaming, than ever before. But I think for Mind, it's got to be a cool moment because here he is once more in a completely different era of his life, and he's in the same spot. So I imagine he probably is pretty relaxed. I think anything that could have felt weird or nervous, he already did that 15, 16 years ago when he became a Star League champion.
You know, but if you do struggle on the way there, I could see that being like kind of a high stress situation. You're finally back. Can you seal the deal? Whereas JYJ, we've seen this guy coming for years. Like basically a little bit after Remaster came out. I remember seeing him playing in KSL in the qualifiers there when he was really rising up. He became an ASL regular. A lot of people were talking about him. Is he going to be one of the next big guys? In fact, he was kind of ahead of where Royal was at that point. A lot of people thought that he was going to be next after kind of like the Flash, Light, Sharp top 3, right? Like there was a little period of time where JYJ was considered the 4th best Terran. You know, Rush and Royal eclipsed him for a while. I think that couldn't have felt good to someone on the brink, but finally he's pushed through.
And it's going to come down to this best of 7. Should be a very exciting TVT. Obviously, it should be a pretty long evening. I think these two are very evenly matched. If I had to give a slight favorite, I would go with Mind. Maybe that's my historical bias here, but he's really impressed me like no one else has with his just ingenuity in all the matchups coming forward. But who knows, JYJ could easily take it as well. We're going to go now to map 1 on Vermeer and start the finals. Our TVT here for ASL Season 15 and crown the strongest StarCraft player in the entire world by the end of tonight.
All right, here we go. In the top left, we have Mind. And in the bottom left, we have JYJ. This is very, very exciting. Vermeer being the first map, I think, is fantastic. It really makes me excited. Vermeer, you know, is like our most standard 4-player macro map. You know, you can do absolutely anything here. You can build barracks in the center of the map if you want to. You can go for command center first if you want to. And, of course, everything in between.
This is such a fun map to have this thing begin on.
Too tired.
JYJ and Mind. Do you think I'm wrong?